Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandi.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome back, Sarah. Today we get to talk about the boons, which is my favorite part. We're going to discuss the gifts and the benefits that you have received from going through this transformation. And today we're going to start with Roy. Let's talk about how your relationship with him has evolved.
Yeah, so evolved is an understatement. I feel like we grew up together, literally, from, being young and dumb and thinking we know, to it being a necessity to kind of escape both of our lives, to the absolute pits of hell, to, up even further from where we started. So he's my best friend. And I know that sounds so corny and cliche, but he's literally the only person I trust wholeheartedly, and I can be my absolute true self around. Also, just the communication that has evolved in a relationship and the importance of spending time together mixes so well with the state that we're in, where our kids are older and we have that opportunity now to really just focus on our marriage.
Reconnect.
Yeah, definitely. Reconnect is a great word to describe it. When you get married, you don't necessarily think about, okay, when our kids leave, that's the person you're going to be with 24 hours a day. You're not going to have your kids in common anymore, or that job of raising kids anymore. And so you really, really have to like that person. We genuinely like and love each other. We just have fun together. And I wish that we didn't have to go through what we did to get there. I wish it was already there at that moment, or maybe just X-nay some of the things that happened at least. But we can't change the past, and I think it makes it all that more sweeter that we are who we are today.
And for people just tuning in, how long have you been married?
20 years.
20 years. Wow.
Yeah.
And you married when you were
18.
That's incredible.
I think of that show Band of Brothers. The reason why, a lot of military people are so tight-knit, because they literally fought side by side and covered for each other and protected each other. I kind of feel like you guys have gone through war together, and that's why you guys are stronger.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That is such a nice way to think of, wow, I've never put that together.
You guys literally faced battle. And
yeah, nothing like a good trauma bond.
Muscles, right? So speaking of your kids, what lessons did you learn about parenting through literally that war?
Oh my gosh, my parenting style has completely done a 180. I've learned to appreciate how different my kids are and really how to parent individually. So growing up in this legalistic view of Christianity, it was a very much spoil the child.
Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I really started my children that way, and it gleaned a lot from the people I was around. The pastor's wife was like, "Oh, you have to whip your kids." I have a child who is very, what's the word I'm looking for? She is a very, oh gosh, it's on the tip of my tongue, where you're like a go-getter type.
Strong-willed?
Strong-willed, yes. She's extremely strong-willed. And it was instilled to me as a young parent by older parents that you have to break that strong will.
Break that spirit.
And break the spirit. And really, that's the complete opposite of what I believe now. And I hate that for her, that I was that way. And she was young. This pastor's wife I was friends with was on this kick where if your kid misbehaved, you would send them out to the front yard to pick their own stick to be spanked with. I was so influenced by these people. And I thought, okay, then I have to do that for my child. And I remember telling Sophia, okay, go out to the yard and pick out your stick that you're going to get, spanked with. That girl marched out there with her chest puffed up and picked the biggest stick she could find. And was like, spank me with this one. Just looked at me dead in the eyes. And I really knew that I had somebody different on my hands. I didn't have the typical child who was going to be broken easily. Like she was either going to break me or I was going to break her, or we were just never going to speak to each other again. Looking back, it's probably out of all the traumatic things that happened to me, my biggest regret in life was trying to break her spirit as a young child. Now that I parent differently, going through everything that I have, and have gone through therapy myself to become a better mom, I own her strong-willed spirit. And I do see her broken in some areas that just kill me. Like it absolutely kills me. I have regret thinking that maybe I had a hand in that brokenness.
I love that she has a spirit of conviction that you did not put out.
Yes.
Because I mean, you think about like we want to launch our kids to be independent adults. Like she's very like, I know the way I need to go.
She is that way. She definitely falters. I mean, like every teen.
Human.
Yeah, every human, every teen. But what I love most about her is she has a just a heart for people who are wronged or like the injustice. And she also has no problem cutting people out of her life. Like she has the biggest pair of scissors like ever. She will just like cut at each other.
Well, I think she does it in a way that they're not serving her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and she realizes it. And
She's
then will just, yeah.
Which is healthy.
It is.
Mhm.
It is healthy, and it was something that I strive to be as I got older, and I've had to cut, people out of my life that don't serve me or hurt my family. My son, thankfully, does not remember a whole lot from those years because he was younger, and he is a very quiet person, much like myself and my husband. So he's a little bit harder egg to crack. I always know what my daughter's feeling. I always know because she always tells me. He's very private. So I'm like, hey, like, probing, like, how are you feeling? How are you doing? Like, how do you feel about this that happened? And he's like, I'm fine, Mom. I'm working to give him his space because I wanted to be alone so much as a teen. But I also know, like, I tell him, like, hey, I'm telling you this because I've lived through it. If you stuff, and you're quiet, and you run, it's going to all come up to the surface, eventually. So the tools that I've been given through these times in the past have just been, can't put a measure on them. If I went through those things just for the simple fact to better understand my children, then it was well worth it.
It sounds like you're trusting your daughter.
It was really hard. I wanted to control a lot. And there was a time when she was maybe 14, 15, where I thought I was doing the right thing by controlling her. I thought I was protecting her. And she actually does a lot better when I just let the reins go and she has to experience the consequences of her own actions. And I didn't really know that until I had started therapy. And I think it was a good thing. Some therapists are, iffy about treating people in the same family. But man, if I didn't have the same therapist as my daughter, I would have no insight as to how I can better help her and like parent her if I don't fix these areas in my life. So it was really just a blessing that she knew my daughter so well, and then she knew my past and knew me as well. She knew that my daughter needed the emotional, physical connection, and that I lacked that so much in my life. And she really started small, even before, the lens therapy. She started with, just brush your daughter's hair. Like that's a huge form of connection that your daughter like needs and will benefit from. I would just pick up a brush and I would just brush her hair, and she would just feel me just brushing and just the presence of me just being there. And so it just made me aware.
In the previous episode, we talked a little bit about how you had attended a church, and you alluded to this a little bit in this episode. You had some church connections, some relationships that you no longer have. But today you're building a new community. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. So I have started an amazing group of women who work out in our community. It's a free workout. So there's a men's and women's group.
And we can talk about it. It's an F3 group, right? It's
Yes.
super popular. It's F3, men's workout group.
Okay, yes. The time going into this, leading to this, I had actually, my daughter was suffering mentally. We were kind of band-aiding the situation, and I knew I had to do something more drastic, so I quit my job to be home with her. And my job was like, no, we don't want you to quit. Just work from home. As long as you need to, just be with her. That's fine. So I was working from home. And the pounds were packing on, guys. Just working from home, like being with my depressed daughter. I was eating everything she was eating. We made it through, but like we weren't making healthy choices like for our bodies. And I was not being active. And before that, I was an avid gym goer. I was into heavy lifting. So the pounds were packing on, and she was getting healthier. And I was like, okay, I need to take care of my body. I'm feeling the repercussions of it. I was so tired all the time. Even though I was working from home, I could not stop sleeping. So I had heard of the workout group, and I was like, I want one right here. I want one right here, next to my house. So I did. I got with 2 other ladies, and we started the group called Oceans. We normally have like a system of starting these groups, right? You want to get like a good 6 people to help you lead the workout. It's like methodical, like a way to do it. But I was like, I'm just doing it. And so like I remember the first day that we had started, a good amount of people showed up. There was like 12 people, and it was because they were all wives of F3. And I was like, hey guys, I really want to do this workout group. I need help though. And so I passed around a sign-up sheet. I was like, you're going to have to lead a workout. Like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, you're going to have to lead a workout if you want to do this.
Right, because this is a free,
Peer-led.
women's workout, always outside, always free, always women.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all volunteer basis too.
All volunteer based. And so I was just super vulnerable.
Right.
And I said, I need help. If you guys want this to run, you guys are going to have to help me run it. And so I passed around this sign-up sheet. It got back to me, and it was full. And Oceans has since grown into an amazing group of women, as well as our other locations. They're all super tight-knit. I love seeing the women that benefit.
I hear so much about like F4. It's like, it's not just the working out. There's like a real, like a circle of trust. It's like a family where you're working out, you're challenging each other, but you're also like when you're in a tough spot, when you're struggling.
They all support each other.
Yeah. And I've honestly never felt more supported in my life than with these group of women that I only see on like Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 5 a.m. They really just have taken all the best qualities of me and have just cheered me on the past 3 years. We had spoken in previous episodes that, my relationship with the church has like completely dissolved. I've lost so much trust in the church and in religion. And there are women there that have really started allowing me to trust the church again, and has shown me that there are real people in the church like me. It has just allowed me to trust again. And it has really just allowed me to kind of venture in the area again. Well, so funny story. I actually went to church for the first time in however many years, like the 12 years since I stopped going. And it's because I became close friends with one of the PAX members. That's what we call our members. She was with us for a good year, and she just was not queuing. And I was like, okay, girl, like, when are you going to queue? Like, I would never push. I'm not one to, like, push it or anything, but...
And queuing just means leading the group.
Yeah, just leading the group workout. And we would kind of go back and forth for a bit. She wasn't ready, and I never pushed, and we just kind of left it at that. And then she, on the other hand, would constantly invite me to church. I'm like, I'm not ready. She's the only other person who really knows my backstory out of the group. So, and she was like, just come to church. So it was Easter Sunday. And she had asked me again. She's like, why don't you just come to church with me? And I said, why don't you queue? And she said, if you come to church, I said, if I come to church, you have to queue. And she said, okay. So I went to church out of a bargain, like to get her to queue. But it was great. And she did. She ended up queuing.
That's an excellent way to
And I
lead by
went to church.
example. Yeah.
And that was my whole idea. And that's really what I strive to do is just, I feel like there was a time period where I was almost lying to people. Like I was claiming to be this person, but I was doing these other things that didn't match really what I had claimed to be. And it's because my life was a mess. That's just how I was coping. But it wasn't really walking the walk or talking the talk. And I really wanted to show these women, I felt like I finally had an opportunity to say, okay, all those other things failed, but now I'm going to do it, and I'm actually going to lead by example, and I'm actually going to walk the walk and talk the talk, and it's going to stick, and it's stuck. It's stuck that time. And when you walk the walk and you talk the talk, you lead by example, and you're vulnerable, people will be changed by that. And I've seen it.
Sounds like we're on the road to healing.
And it takes a village, for sure.
Yeah, and F4 provides village.
Mm-hmm.
For sure does.
So can we talk a little bit about your relationship with your sister? How has that transformed and grown?
That has actually grown from a like mother-daughter type relationship to we're actually friends now, which is really fun. My sister is a really fun person, which I did not know because she was just always like needy, right? It's like, here's this person 10 years younger who I would see as a child, right?
Okay, because you used to help take care of her. You were her caretaker.
Yes, even on an emotional level. If my parents were fighting, I would comfort her. If she wanted to live with me and see our dad more, then I would provide for her. So now that we're adults, it's really neat to finally discover that we like the same things, that we can talk about it, and it's not like awkward, like I'm talking to my daughter or whatever.
What would you say was like the defining moment where you really felt that relationship shift?
It would be from Lynn's therapy. So she also sees the same therapist, and she had started Lynn's therapy. And I remember she would go to her session and she would come back to my house because my house was close proximity. So she would kind of kill two birds with one stone. She's like, I'm coming to town, I'm going to do this, and then I'll see you. So she would come over, and she's normally very reserved. We wouldn't talk, and that's just from my childhood. Like, none of us talked. And she would come over after Lynn's and just spill her guts, like talk constantly. We would just have these deep, meaningful conversations about our parents, about our situation, about our childhood, like things that she remembers, things that I remember. And because we had very different childhoods growing up. She has only ever known our dad to be sick. I have at least memories of better times. She does not. And when our dad died, she was 14. So she has a very different memory of bringing her own set of trauma from those times than I do. So we would just talk after her Lynn's therapy. And I'm like, I really enjoy this person. Like, I'm getting to know her and her experiences on a different level other than just being responsible for her, right? Because now she's an adult.
You and Abby have started something very fun. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. We have started a saucy, spicy podcast. I'm kidding, it's not that spicy. But we do talk about spicy topics.
Because you're talking about spicy books.
Yes. So come to find out, which I don't know if I just blocked it out of my memory or we just didn't talk about it or what, but we both have a love for books. And we didn't even know it. Like, we both love books so much. And we both use it as like an escape tool to just kind of leave the world that we were in behind and go into this imaginary world that you go to when you're reading a book. So I had stopped reading for a really long period of time, going through all the things that I went through. And I said, hey, I picked up a book. It was really good. Like, you should read it. And she's like, well, I just got finished reading this book, so you should read this one. So we swapped books. And we were out at dinner one night and we were like, we should like start a podcast about reviewing books and just our perspective on it because we have such an age gap. So when we read the same things, we have very different perspectives and it turns out to be really funny. We were just kind of like, okay, yeah, that sounds fun. And then we did and it just kind of took off. It's been so fun just getting to know her and her getting to know me. I think she's enjoying it too through these books that we love.
What's the name of the podcast?
It's called Naughty Narratives, A Sister's Perspective. From one thing from our trauma, from our childhood, we have a very naughty sense of humor. We laugh at very inappropriate things. There are times where, like, we have to stop recording and, like, start over because we have gone off on a tangent and are laughing at something that is completely inappropriate. Like, we cannot post that, like, at all. Like, even with the E rating. Like, we cannot post it. So that's where the naughty narratives comes in because we just can't hold it together for some things that should not be laughed about.
I do admire that you guys are comfortable enough with each other to go there.
Well, yeah. So here's the thing, and this is what I tell her when she gets nervous. She's like, should we post that? I don't know about that. And I'm like, look, here, this is what our podcast is. So this is a private conversation between two sisters that just happens to be published. Like, that's just how you have to look at it, right? And if people don't like it, then they don't like it. And
It's really not that bad.
it's not.
No.
It's really not that bad.
There's like the part in the beginning where you're just catching up as sisters.
Yeah.
And then the part where you talk about the book.
Yeah.
And how it relates.
Exactly.
It's not that bad.
No, it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun.
But I think maybe when you haven't put yourself out there before, like neither her or I have ever put ourselves out there really in that way. It's nerve-wracking. You could ask somebody that I see all the time, like for instance, somebody from like the workout group, let's say from F4, and they'll listen and they're like, you sound so different on your podcast. I would never imagine you would talk like that. Well, I'm having a conversation with my sister. Like it's my sister, right? And it just happens to be recorded. So of course I'm going to sound different just talking, having a private conversation with my sister. That's not private.
And I love that you're willing to get yourself uncomfortable.
Yes.
As you're growing.
That's been a huge thing for me these past 2 years, is just being comfortable in my uncomfortableness, because that's really where my growth has been. You know, I've been told before, like, oh, you have leadership qualities, but then to actually do it and be uncomfortable doing it, but really own those qualities and grow them and just become better has been really good for me.
What would you say you're most proud of in your family's growth? So you, Roy, your kids, what do you think you're most proud of?
I'm most proud of our connection, what it means to actually be there for each other. I think when you grow up and things are different from day to day, you don't know what day is going to be peaceful and you don't know what day is going to be hard. I think to have a family unit where you know what it's going to be every day, just the familiarity of it and the comfort of it, and it is probably my greatest accomplishment. I remember my therapist told me I have a lot of kids, you know, that I see. And Sophie is the only kid that has ever told me that she feels like she can go off and do anything and always come home and always have a home and always have love and always have forgiveness. And she said that's a huge accomplishment and you should be really proud of yourselves as parents. And I think I am. Like, I think that I am proud of that my kids feel that they can go off and do anything or make any mistake and still come.
Incredible praise to be their safe space. Having said all that, what do you hope your listeners today are going to get from your mom?
So I hope that people will know that they can make it through anything, really. In the moment when you're going through a trauma, you don't really think about how I will benefit from this, right? You're just like going through it and you're just surviving. But if you can just hear and know that I'm going through this, but I'm going to use it as a tool 10 years from now or 5 years from now to change my life. I hope people in that moment, whatever they're going through, whether it's suicide or a death of a parent or a death of a relationship, that they know that this will help later. I hope that my example teaches people just to communicate, whether you're feeling like you are building resentment in your relationship or you're feeling like you want to end your life, whatever it is you're feeling, just to reach out.
We end every episode with an attitude of gratitude. It's your opportunity to spotlight any of the heroes that you have had through your Monomyth.
Heroes. Okay.
Mentors, heroes, people you're super grateful for.
Yeah. So I'm super grateful for my husband for putting up with me and just finding me worthy to work with and work on a relationship with. And I'm thankful for my children for teaching me every day to be a better person. And for Patty for always just hanging in the deep end with me. You know, she texts me every day. And I'm super thankful for F4, for the ladies at Oceans. There's some individual ones, I know who they are, who have just really made me feel so important and empowered and just love me for who I am and everything that has come with me. And my sister and my brother. We didn't talk much about my older brother, but he is really just a beacon of light. To me, he is so wise. You know, we went through this stage where if I would call him, he'd be like, "What's wrong? Oh my gosh." Because we're so used to when somebody calls, like something is wrong or somebody died or something like that. We weren't close very much growing up. I was closest to my younger brother, but now that we're older, we're much closer and we're finding how relatable and similar. We are much like my sister. The podcast I have with my sister, he's our biggest fan. I mean, he listens religiously and he tells everybody about it.
I heard you guys talk about that in your episodes.
Yeah.
He's the unsung hero for sure.
But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. As one of our former guests said, thank you for sharing your inside thoughts with us today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for sharing your incredible monomyth with us. Your journey is a beautiful reminder that with resilience, healing is possible, and the boons it brings can ripple through our lives and communities.
To our listeners, we hope you've been inspired by Sarah's story. Don't forget to join us every Tuesday for a new episode and a little pick-me-up.
Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate it if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.